lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and today I'm going to be talking about Death Note Black Edition. So this is going to be chapters. This is going to be books 1 and 2, collected in this like thick volume. Been wanting to read this for a very long time, and I figured, I'm doing a bunch of stuff for the month of October, which is it, and kind of horror, Halloween themed type stuff, and I figured like this is the perfect thing for not just that, but I've also been really wanting to do more manga on the channel. I gotta say, I wish I would have read this a lot earlier. I loved this book. I think it's awesome. I can't wait to pick up the subsequent volumes after this. For anybody that doesn't know, I'll give quick little backstory on this. It's main character, Light Yagami, straight A student, he's on his way to college and stuff like that, but he's just bored with life. And all of a sudden, this notebook called Death Note drops on the ground by this demon called, it's a rogue Shinigami is what they call this race of death gods, if you will. So now he basically can write in a notebook and then make somebody die. And so like all of this stuff that happens because of that. That's just a quick elevator pitch. Kind of interesting, because like, does that make you a murderer? Like, if you are a murderer, you may not be actually committing it, but you are setting it in motion. So, kind of an interesting concept, and it's not a super long series. Some manga like goes on for years and years and years. I mean, maybe decades. I think it's at certain points, but this is nice. I think there's only about 5 or 6. I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure somebody can correct me in the comments below, but I definitely wanted to check this out and put this under the camera. Tsugumi Ohba does the story, and Takeshi Obata is the artist on this. So kind of a thick boy. I will just quickly get into it. You open up with the contrasting. You're in the realm of the Shinigami. You can see like this is the main Shinigami that we will see, and just both of them bored with same old thing day after day. The world is a rotten mess, and we get Light Yagami on. We got Light over there as well, and these are going to be the two main characters of this thick book. But I won't go through every page. I just wanted to kind of like go through some of it. I like this, that he looks really creepy, but he never really feels like that evil of a character, which I think is kind of interesting. And you can see all the really cool designs for the other death gods in there, like just straight skeleton looking people. This one all pale, so they all look different. They all stand out on their own. He's looking for his death note, his the notebook. He doesn't know what it did, and it obviously found the human world. So he's going to jump through into our world, which I love the way this is depicted here. I also like that a lot of manga will have like the beginning of chapters will be in color and then the rest is black and white. I think it's an interesting technique. Again, love the design. He's out there looking for it, and then there we go. Light's sitting, 17 years old, sitting bored in the classroom, and he sees the notebook. Of course, he walks over, he picks it up, and he sees it, Death Note, a notebook of death. And it's all in English. What a pain. He looks at it and he says, how to use it. And it's all in English because this takes place in Japan. So he's kind of, a little bit annoyed by that, right? So, and then it gives a whole spiel. The human whose name is written in this note shall die. Then we get, again, and that's what I love too in the chapter breaks. It'll give you each kind of rule of the Death Note. So like this note will take effect unless the writer has the person's face in their mind when writing his or her name. Therefore, people sharing the same name will not be affected, which is interesting because, like, I'm sure there's a lot of people with the same first and last name. And so it's also interesting that you have to actually know what that person looks like. So and it's going to play out throughout this volume is that somebody's after him and he doesn't know what they look like, so he can't put them in the notebook. So until he sees them, until he And even if he sees them but doesn't know their name, again, so you have to have both. So that's interesting. Cause of death written within 40 seconds of writing the person's name, it will happen. If the cause of death is not specified, the person will simply die of a heart attack. After writing the cause of death, details of the death should be written in the next 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Interesting, like the number, like why 40 seconds, why 6 minutes, 40 seconds. And I love that if you just put somebody's name, heart attack. And that's what will end up happening. And we're going to see that because Light starts taking out criminals and not just writing their names. So everybody's dying of heart attacks. And then, gets on the FBI's radar eventually. And they're starting to track him down and they don't know how to find him, right? But before all that happens, he gets introduced to the Shinigami, whose name is Ryuk, right? And he dropped the notebook, and he's like, it's not any old notebook, right? And but Light's just like completely tripped out at first, and he's like, a death god, and he's like, I'm not surprised to see you. In fact, I've been waiting for you. Like, even Ryuk is like kind of taken aback. Like, this kid's not even like terrified of me. He's not tripping out. He's so calm. And that just kind of alludes to like, this kid really is very smart, very intelligent. And even so much as like, you could maybe take out somebody that's bullying you or somebody that's giving you a hard time. But no, he's going to go straight for criminals. And, you'll learn that his dad is a detective as well. And he's even helped kind of solve cases with his dad, which is interesting. I mean, for a 17-year-old. And, we're learning, too, that nobody can see Ryuk at all except Light. But we also will learn that if somebody else touches that notebook, they can see him. And even if they touch an aspect, just a page out of the notebook, they can see him. And Light will use that to his advantage later on. And then we learn that is there a price for using the Death Note? Not exactly. There is the terror and torment that only humans who've used it will experience. And when you die, I'll be the one writing your name down. But don't think that any human who's used the Death Note can go to heaven or hell. So where do they go? Right? Like, now you're basically, by using this notebook, eliminating yourself. Like, not only are you just not going to heaven, but you're not even going to hell. So you're just in this in-between. And you'll find out about that after you die. I mean, it's funny because he is kind of creepy looking, but at the same time, there's like a humor to Ryuk, which I really dig. Both of them are bored. He starts like figuring out who he's gonna kill. We see this like this guy that's taking children hostages. This is the first dude he is gonna put on the list. And then we see, and he's tested out. The guy's dead. Everybody inside is coming out, and we see he died of a heart attack. And so throughout this volume, really, we're just seeing different people come into his life, and then he takes them out. Like this biker dude ends up getting put on the list, right? And he gets hit with a traffic accident, and you can see that he writes that in there. And so, countless times throughout this book, like he'll test what he can do with it, especially when like the mysterious L, a world-renowned, I don't want to say necessarily detective, but he always catches his man. He never doesn't solve a crime. He'll be on Light's radar, and eventually they'll refer to him as Kira because they don't know the name, right? And you can see like he's not getting drunk with power, but just like the fact that he feels righteous in doing what he's doing, even though he's murdering. And he wants to reign over a new world. And then, Ryuk, humans are fun. Like, just countless moments of that. We see this is L, who's, been tasked with taking down Light and these mysterious deaths. And again, like I was mentioning earlier, we get now we get to see what Light saw in the Death Note. And these are how to use it. And we get little bits and pieces. So we don't learn how it works from the beginning, but we do slowly as the series progresses. In throughout the chapters, we will learn that there are different things that can take place, and there are certain guidelines and stuff that you have to follow, and stuff that Light doesn't know at first. Ryuk doesn't tell him that stuff, but he'll find out later on. And now he's got a following where people are like supporting him, And nobody knows, like, is he only going after criminals? How is he getting the information? And then we find out he's using some of his dad's information, right? So, like, now people are gonna put his family in the crossfires and kind of like wonder like, okay, is he a part of it? Is Light a part of it? And I think it's funny, L is testing him, and it's a real cat and mouse game between the two of them because L apparently goes on screen. If you don't want to read, if you don't want spoilers, then I guess you're gonna have to turn this off. But he goes on camera, and then we end up finding out that L was playing him to see what Light could and couldn't do, and gives him a name. He looks on the camera. He thinks he's got L, but it's not. It was fake, and it was a criminal that was sentenced to death. So they put him on camera to fake it out to see, basically to see the extent of how far he could do or how he was able to kill people, because they think he's a psychic, and that he's using his psychic powers to do it. Again, love this. Humans are a riot, like, and he's constantly like yuck, 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 like just laughing all the time. Another great little chapter break. More how to use it. I love this double page spread when you get the realm of the Shinigami. Like, it's, but again, like, this is a book that I've known about. I know there's an anime. I feel like maybe live action too. I feel like I've seen like ads for the live action. But just such a great, interesting story, and I won't spoil too much of it because I went in kind of blind, except from reading the back of the book and knowing kind of the basic idea of what the concept is for this title and what the story is. But other than that, didn't know much, and I think that definitely made the reading experience even more enjoyable. So again, like, this is, you finally find out like his dad is part of the force tasked to take him down. So you kind of just like, it builds the tension, and you start finding out more and more. Again, I love the way it's also just drops you into this world. And look at this, even saying so much is like, even without the headache, I'm walking on a tightrope here. If I blow it, Kira, who's Light, will have to kill his own family. So now he's gonna, there's moments in here where he takes people out that aren't necessarily criminals just to keep his secret. And there's some really good use of the Death Note and like the way he plans stuff out, because there's this guy tailing him, after they realize that maybe it's somebody on the inside giving information. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, there's this bus scene too, like, where he plans it to kind of get this guy off of his tail and to learn the name of the cop, and then he's like learning all the FBI agents that are on the that are tailing him. Just really brilliant mind. Pretty crazy how he plays this dude and uses the notebook page to make him look crazy so he can throw off the guy that's on his tail. Just phenomenal, dude. And then you're gonna there's some new characters that come in the way, because the guy the FBI agent that was on his tail, he gets that dude killed, but his fiance is now on his tail too, because like, she realizes something was weird, and that because she's a former FBI agent, her mind is constantly running too of like, well, how did this happen? It must have been somebody he was tailing. It must have been something related to this case. I'm telling you, just phenomenal. Constantly like taking you, like, you're zigzagging, and just as like these two characters of L and Light are going after each other, they don't know about each other, and we're seeing from the other end, but we're also discovering new stuff along the way as well. And I can't recommend this book enough. I don't want to like spoil too much, but it is the story is fantastic, the pacing of it, the art is great. I love the dynamic between Light and Ryuk. Just the concept of being able to kill somebody by writing their name down in a notebook is pretty insane. And then you start to wonder, like, are you a good person for doing that? Like, you can justify it by saying like, well, I'm killing criminals. But then when you have to start protecting that secret so that you don't get caught, and then you're starting to put innocent people in the crossfire, like FBI agents or the wife of an FBI agent, just keeps you on your toes. You're, like, I finished this book basically in one sitting. I'm already going to go to the store to pick up the other volumes of this, because I've just blown away. Been getting huge into manga over the past few years. For whatever reason, I wasn't really reading that much when I was younger, but there's just so many good things out there to read. Expect some more coverage of different titles. I don't know if I'll necessarily go through the other volumes of Death Note. definitely be on the lookout for some more stuff, horror, Halloween related throughout the month of October. Going to definitely be throwing some more manga up on the channel as well. And make sure you like, follow, subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you're notified every time a new video drops. And on that note, I'm out.